Okay, first things first, Sean, thank you so much for coming on my little Let's Talk Terror podcast to speak with me. If you would like to introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Sean Cronin. I'm a supervillain. I've been in 92 movies. I have died in 85, including James Bond, Mission Impossible, Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts. I always play the villain. I don't know why. It must be my face. But as I've got older, because I'm the wrong side of 21 now, I won't say how old I really am, but I've been directing and I've directed, oh gosh, this will be my 16th feature. Yeah, so I've been directing, I've directed, and I've done some kind of human interest stories, but I've done two horrors recently. One came out in the US on the, crikey, I think it was the 28th of January, a seductive vampire movie called Drained, and then Bogieville. Although we shot Bogieville quite a long time before Drained, Bogieville comes out now on the 3rd in the US and on the 13th in the UK. So yeah, that's kind of who I am, a horrible villain turned director.
All right, so of course, we're here to talk about Bogieville in particular. And my first question that I want to ask is, Bogieville is such a crazy blend of you have Southern Gothic, you have a road movie, and then you have vampires. So how in the world did you come to combine all of these things into Bogieville?
Well, the strange thing is, Bogieville was written by a writer from Boston, Massachusetts. He's an older guy, he's in his 70s now, and he's written nearly 100 features, bless him, but he's never had them made. And he pitched me this screenplay, God, 10, 11, 12 years ago. And I didn't have the money, and I loved the idea of it. But so it's basically it's Henry's baby. It's all Henry's idea. But one of the big challenges is this is an independent film. You know, the budget's it's not a huge budget. It's a couple of hundred K. You know, somebody very kindly compared our vampires to Sinners. And Sinners is a $90 million movie. We've probably got their catering budget for 3 days. You know, but it was sort of Henry's idea. But one of the financial constraints was for me to move everyone over to America to shoot it in the States. We had to try our best to recreate, you know, the deep South in America in rainy, wet England, and we shot in March, and the weather was raining, and it was just mud, and so the biggest challenge was trying to create America in the UK. There are a few American actors in there, or of American heritage. So that was the biggest challenge. And it's great. You know, I love vampires. I love Interview with a Vampire. One of my favorite vampire movies is Near Dark. I don't know if you've seen Near Dark. It's
I
Catherine
have.
Bigelow. Wonderful movie. And annoyingly, you can't get it anywhere, but it's just great. So the style of shooting it was influenced. My influence was kind of that. But you know, I liked the difference, like hillbilly kind of trailer trash vampires. They're not super suave Dracula with Halloween fangs. They've got horrible, gnarly teeth, and you know, when they're turned, they're still wearing the same clothes they were turned in, you know, 100 years ago. So they're probably quite smelly as well. And I like the fact they're really feral, and it's just a different kind of look. They live in trailers, so I just found it fascinating. And hopefully we've made this screenplay for Henry, and he's got tons of other wonderful screenplays, so I'm going to try and help him make those. But I just fell in love with it because it's a different take on vampires. I don't think anyone's done anything like this. And the other crazy thing about our vampires is they know when it's a woman's time of the month. So it's a bit like sharks. If you bleed and there's sharks in the water and there's blood, the sharks will find you. So that's a kind of, and I don't know if that's a bit taboo or not. And that wasn't really, it was only alluded to or hinted at in Henry's original screenplay. And then ironically, my girlfriend goes, "Why don't you do this?" So the opening scene is actually a woman's idea. So I don't know whether it's too much or not, but you must remember The Exorcist. Now, The Exorcist had so many taboo things in it. I won't even repeat some of the things that were said and that she did in that film. And it was banned everywhere. It was like, no, you can't see this movie. And still to this day, even though it's made in 1973, I think it's one of the scariest movies of all time. And it went on to do 441 million, and that's in 1973. If you consider inflation, that would probably be one of the biggest box office or grossing movies of all time. And a part of that was because it was so shocking. We're not as shocking, it's not kind of as satanic as The Exorcist, but and it's a bit of fun. It's got some comedy elements. It's tongue in cheek, it's meant to be a fun ride. So that's kind of how Bogieville came about and kind of what I've done with it. But one really very quickly funny thing about I directed this movie. I played Madison, the lead vampire. So for 16 days or 17 days of this shoot, I've got full sclera black contact lenses in, so I can't see. I've got the teeth in, so I can't talk. But everyone did what I kind of can talk, but with a kind of lisp. But everyone did what they were told because I was quite scary. But it was a real challenge directing the film, and it was very cold. So we're shooting in the middle of the night. It's freezing cold, and it was a tough shoot. It was very, very tough, but lots of fun.
I'm I'm so impressed that you shot this in the UK because I live in Missouri and this Bogieville looks like Missouri.
Oh,
So
good. Well, thank God. There
it
are.
does. I'm like I was actually quite surprised to find out it wasn't shot here. You guys did a really good job, and especially hearing that it was cold and rainy the whole time. Looking
Yeah.
at it, it looks, I'm surrounded by woods. It's approaching on summer right now, so it's, humid. It looks exactly like Missouri and like this uh hillbilly America. So Missouri, Kentucky, some parts of, West
Yeah,
Virginia.
well, it was kind of set like meant to be Atlanta, Georgia, but the weird thing was I've got this new place to live. I have a farm with 25 acres, or they call them hectares over there, of land. Uh, and when I got this place, I thought this is Bogeyville. So we've got all this land that we could put the trailers on, and where we were totally secluded and we weren't disturbing anybody, and it was our own location. My girlfriend wasn't very pleased though because obviously on a budget, I had to find all these trailers. So I'm driving around all around the UK, getting these free, dilapidated caravans and horrible trailers. I'm dragging them with my car. Eventually I got about 10 or 15 of these bloody things. And, when I was collecting one of them, I got it. I drove a mile down the road, the wheel fell off, and suddenly it's on its side like this. But luckily it fell off right outside a fire station. And these really helpful firemen came out and they helped me put the wheel back on. And after we finished the shoot, it took me nearly a year to get rid of them. And she's going, "Will you get these horrible hillbilly trailers off my land?" And of course, we used the farmhouse as the main house as well, and we ruined the house. So as a result, we're no longer together. I think it destroyed our relationship, but we're still good friends. But yeah. So yeah, yeah. So don't make a hillbilly vampire movie in your home if you want to keep your relationship.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. So let's circle back to this whole women's time of the month thing because you touched on a lot of good things now there. Now, when I read that bit in the press release, I was taken aback because I'm like, oh, that's kind of an odd thing to write. But that said, I'm kind of glad that it's written in there because it's actually a good question. It may be taboo, but it's a good question. Like, what if vampires were real? And like, is that something that women would have to worry about?
Yeah, I mean it's like the scent. I mean, I'm not comparing women to dogs, but when I mean, we just had my spaniels just had five wonderful puppies, and when a female dog is in season, the male dogs they can smell it. So the vampires that they have a heightened sense of awareness, and I mean it's a bit of a spoiler here, but Ham, who is the lead, and his girlfriend Jodie, he needs to escape. He needs to go and get help. And the only reason he can go and get help is because Jodie's scent is so strong that Madison doesn't know that he's gone. He can't smell it. So, and it is kind of taboo. I mean, we were going to do some we were going to do some Bogieville garlic infused tampons to sell to the press. But my publicist said, no, that's definitely too much, you know. But so we didn't go that far. But I mean, I was very, very tempted. But it is a real question. If vampires were real, that might be an issue. I don't know. And maybe vampires.
Right. And not even just with periods, but like other things too. Like I know some there's some dogs or even some people that can smell, certain illnesses that you can have. So even that, it's like, can they tell if you're sick? Would they eat you if you're sick? Who knows? There's so many questions
Yeah.
that can be explored, and I'm glad that Bogieville brought this up. So thank you for that. It's a little
Have you,
gross, but
have you
gross
seen the
is
whole
just
film?
fine.
Have you seen the whole film
I
yet or
did.
not?
I watched it yesterday.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I don't, I mean, obviously a spoiler, but we might have to bleep this bit out. But obviously, some of us, they don't all die.
Hmm.
So I said, Henry, you better get writing Bogieville too. And of course, Crawford, Ham turns into Crawford. Jody
Yes.
is turned. Where's Lily? Madison gets away. So there's no reason why, I mean, if the film does well, I mean, one of the problems with independent film is 95% of movies don't get made. Of the 5% that do, 95% of them don't make any money. And that's simply because when you got a big studio, you knew when Barbie came out, you knew when Oppenheimer came out, you knew when Napoleon or when Sinners came out, because the big studios have the same amount of money, if not more, to spend on P&A. Whereas we make our film with the pennies we have, and then we've got to let the world know that we've made it for it to have a chance. But you look at films like Terrifier 1 was shot for like 30K, something like that. It did about 300K eventually. Number 2 cost 300K and did a couple of million, and then Terrifier 3 with 2 million, including P&A dollars, so 1,500, 1.5 UK, has gone on to do in excess of 100 million.
Hmm.
It's and it's basically about a crazy clown with a chainsaw.
Right.
Um, but he's very iconic. Art the clown, you remember what he looks like. You know what I mean? And one of the great things, a potential for Bogieville, is the vampires are very specific. Young Lily, my character. There's another guy, Cody, with a bandana, great looking vampire. They are the sort of vampires that you can see made into Halloween masks or made into little figurines. So I'm approaching there's a company called Trick or Treat and a few other companies. We're in talks with them to try and create, some branding and some merchandise to go with it. Because I'd love to make it. Again, I don't know whether I want to direct the next one though, because I will tell you it was tough. There was a couple of funny things that happened. Two funny things I want to tell you very quickly. So we're creating the moon. We've got our DOP, our cinematographer, on a cherry picker. He's 30 meters in the air and he's shooting down on the farm. And on the other cherry picker, we've got the moon. So we've got this big light shining down over the trailer park. It's 4 a.m, freezing cold. We've finally finished the shoot. So you press the button on cherry picker 1, the moon comes down. We press the button on cherry picker 2, it does, and it's got the cinematographer in
Oh
it.
no.
It's not coming down. I'm like, so I'm phoning the guy we hire. I say, man, he's asleep. It's 4 a.m. I'm going, shit. And the DOP's, and it's windy, and the cherry picker's going like this. And I'm going, oh, his name was Dan. I'm going, you okay up there, Dan? He's going, I'm crapping myself. And what it was is the legs are like this, and they have to be completely straight. Otherwise, it auto fails. So, and I happened to notice that one leg, and I went click, and then about an hour
Okay.
later, finally he comes down. Anyway, just what immediately happened after this is with these vampire teeth, you put this polymer in, right? You set them in polymer. You melt it so it's soft. You put it in your mouth, and just before it goes really hard, you have to pull it out. Then it goes super hard, and then it will fit your mouth. You click them straight
Hmm.
in. So the makeup artist said, Sean, whatever you do, don't leave them in. Anyway, so I'm dealing with this cherry picker situation,
I
and
can see where this is going.
I've forgotten to take the bloody things out. So finally, I'm trying to pull them out. I can't get them out. I literally cannot get them out. I'm like, guys, and I can feel my teeth coming out with them if I'm put because it's gone like super glue. And the only way you can do it is by getting a bowl of boiling water and put like this and putting your gums and your teeth. I mean, it was burning me. And the whole crew, they're all laughing at me, going, ah, he can't get his teeth out. And eventually, an hour later, I finally got them out. But it was really scary. So I nearly had a dead cinematographer and permanent vampire teeth. But and those were just some of the challenges. I mean, there was one day where when the cops arrest Ham and they handcuff him, and he's like this, he's handcuffed on top of the cop car. We've lost the key for handcuffs. Okay, so suddenly, you know, he's not a huge star internationally, but he is the Tom Cruise of Indonesia. In Indonesia, he's one of their top five
Oh,
most famous
really?
actors. So he's a little bit high maintenance. You know, he's lovely, but he's like he's the highest paid actor on set. He's a bit of a star, and suddenly he's completely handcuffed to the cop car, and we can't. You know, that's so again. I've got my vampire teeth in my eyes, and I'm trying to pick the lock. You know, eventually somebody found the key, but I mean, there was every day. One other crazy thing. I'll let you ask a question in a minute. One crazy thing that happened. So we're on the last day of shooting. Well, Arifin, the lead, has to leave for Indonesia that night. We've got like a full cop. We've got 70 cast and crew on set. There's a storm coming in, a
Hmm.
storm brewing, and the trees are going. And I'm like, oh my God. And then there's, big black clouds and thunder. I'm going, shit. We're shooting outside. We got powered lights, electric lights outside. Anyway, so we're building up to this scene. I said, we've got to get this in the can before this storm hits. And then I go, stand by. We hear this creaking. I shout, action. A tree falls down. Boom! Takes out all the power. Takes out all the power lines. The whole place goes dark. All the lights go off. Bang! And I'm like, no! And annoyingly, and then Arifin had to fly back. So it was crazy. So Arifin had to fly back. So we then had to find another 50,000 to fly him back and reassemble the entire crew and to finish the movie because it was the big finale with all the trailers opening and it was crazy. So one thing, making movies is very difficult. Sometimes I watch a movie and I'm there with my red wine and I fall asleep. And then I go, don't fall asleep. It took 100 people 2 years to make it.
Right, right.
And you don't realize when you watch a movie what goes in behind the scenes to making it work, especially on a tiny budget. A couple of 100,000 is I think $300,000 in total. It's really, I mean, I was a villain in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. That was a $270 million movie. And I knew the caterers. The catering cost 300,000 just to cater, and that's my entire budget. So it's a real challenge making independent film. It's very, very difficult, and it's also great fun and very rewarding. But so people, please, when you watch the movie, be a little bit, give us a break because we had very little money, and it was very. I mean, we were shooting for 17-hour days. It was just insane. I mean,
You
some nights I slept with my makeup on. I was so tired. I wake up, I'm still a vampire. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
you don't have to worry about me not liking Bogieville because I enjoyed it very much. But I do have the same sentiment about independent films because I know that it takes a lot to make a movie. I can't make one, so I'm definitely like I review a lot of independent movies, and not one of them I will say a bad thing about. I will never say I didn't like this movie because even if I didn't like it, that doesn't mean someone else won't. But two, I know it took so much to even make this on pennies. So I don't worry about Bogieville. I loved it. But yeah, independent film is
It's
I
tough,
can
man.
only imagine your production sounds cursed.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, we even made a little kind of a blog of all the things that went wrong, and there was just I mean, the Bogieville truck, the truck that he drives around in, the brakes failed. He's in it, and it nearly crashed, and then when we needed to get it back, we said, gave it back to the owner, and the guy sold it. He sold it. I was like,
Of course he did.
I need the car again. He said, well, it's in Scotland. Now, Scotland is the other end of England. So I had to find another like 5 grand to get, and it didn't work anymore. So I had to get a flatbed to pick it up from Scotland, drive it all the way back down to us. And of the shots where they're driving, they're on a flatbed because it won't stop. So it's just everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but it was also, I mean, nobody, everyone had a lot of fun. Nobody got upset. I mean,
Yeah.
he got a little bit upset when he was handcuffed to the car for 2 hours. That was a little bit sticky that day, but
So let's talk about Madison. Now, you said before that you've played a ton of villains. You're just a villain guy. So how was Madison compared to these other millions of villains that you have played? Was he easier to play? Was he harder to play? Was he more fun than some of the
it
other
was
people you
obviously
played?
very hard to play because I was directing myself and sometimes I'm directing myself and I don't take direction, so I argue with myself. I go, no, we need it like this. I'm not going to do it like that. I said, well, you got to do it. So a bit of internal struggle. I mean, he's a great character. I wasn't originally going to play Madison. It was going to be somebody else, and we cast him, and then he broke his leg and he couldn't do it. So well, fuck it, I'll do it. And I really enjoyed it. And the lady that plays my wife, Tess, is Serena Taylor. Serena Taylor is married to Roger Taylor, who is the writer and the drummer from Queen, the
Okay.
biggest rock band in the world. And Serena Taylor lives in a 50 million pound mansion in absolute luxury. But I directed her in a short film many years ago. And I'm a single father. I've got 2 young girls that have never met their mother. So that she left when they were 1 and 2 years old, and she never came back. So I'm doing okay now. But when I first met Serena 10, 12 years ago, they were 4 and 5 years old, and I was struggling, really struggling. And we did this little film. She met the girls, and she said, "Have they got a godmother?" I said, no. She goes, would you like me to be their godmother? I went, wow, that's amazing.
Right.
I took them when they were 4 and 5 to their mansion. There's a 60-foot statue of Freddie Mercury by the pool, right? And she said, yeah, bring them over. And I brought them over, the little kids, and they see the pool and they want to swim. So Georgia jumps in the pool. I said, she can't swim. So Georgia starts immediately drowning. I'm like, oh my God. And then Molly's a year older. I'll save her, Dad. She jumps in. She can't swim.
No.
So, so listen, I'm wearing a really expensive Armani suit. I've got a meeting with Universal Studios. I was going to London and I was going to leave the girls with Serena. Anyway, I've got no choice, but I had to jump in my Armani suit and rescue them both. So I've rescued both the girls. It was crazy. And then Roger Taylor comes out. Roger Taylor's amazing music icon. He said, Sean, would you like to borrow some clothes? And I went to this meeting wearing a Hawaiian shirt and this pair of bright red shorts and flip-flops, it's crazy. But and Serena, I was paying her equity minimum, which is two or three hundred, $300 a day, and she's in my basement on a filthy mattress covered in blood, and she lives in absolutely. She was such an amazing person for her to step out of her life and come into my independent film and play this dirty hillbilly vampire. So yeah, crazy stuff.
So let's talk about some of the practical effects in Bogieville. So you talked a little bit about the teeth already. Tell me about the blood because this is a bloody movie. There's a lot of it. What did the blood taste like? What kind of recipe did you use? Was it off the shelf or did you make your own? Tell me about all the blood and effects.
Well, Tequila Carter is our wonderful, bless her, wonderful makeup artist, and she was some days when she had to make like 10 or 12 vampires up, and each vampire takes an hour because they got the veins, the teeth, all those
Right.
fingernails. Very difficult. And there's one scene where I've got so much blood in my mouth. But we found that this amazing combination of beetroot juice. Beetroot juice actually looks like blood.
Hmm.
We just put honey in the beetroot juice and a little bit of, I think it's corn flour to thicken it. so that it was actually quite tasty. So we kind of made our own blood. Um, it was. I would have liked to have had actual more gore and more practical effects in the film. More, there was a decapitation that didn't work and a few other things. But we were just restricted by time, often, and obviously by the financials of it. It was very, very hard. So a lot of the stuff you don't see so much of people's throats being ripped out as, but what you do, what I quite like, I don't know if you've seen a film called American History X. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. Yes.
There's a scene where Ed Norton, when he's in his full horrible Nazi mentality, and he's got this black guy on the curb, right?
Oh, it's the bite
Yeah,
the curve.
and he stamps on his head, bah! But you don't see it. You don't see it. You
Your
don't.
imagination is worse than
Your imagination,
anything.
you imagine, you hear the sound, and you're like, whoa! And
Yes.
for me, that's still one of the scariest or most horrible scenes that I never saw. I never saw it. It was implied. And so a lot of what we did in Bogieville, because you know what's happening when the vampire comes to the window, you know he's going to get bitten.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you really need to see it. I mean, obviously, when you look at the Terrifier franchise, where they cut his dick off and they cut her boobs off, and it's like,
Yes.
that's crazy, and that's a proper gore fest. And I mean, hats off. I went to an LA screening of Terrifier 3, and love it or hate it, you have to take your hats off to the practical effects.
Yes.
It really is like, whoa, oh my God. I was sort of walking around holding my precious jewels for a few days after seeing that, you know. Yeah, so a lot of fun. But Tequila did an amazing job. She's great. And it's also hard because you're doing the vampires, they've got to make sure that they've got the veins are in the right place. And it was tough. She worked with, I mean, some days when we had 10 vampires, she had a couple of assistants. But again, we're working on this tiny budget, so we can't afford like 10 guys. So she worked so hard. I mean, I've never seen anybody work so hard. So she's amazing. Tequila, you're amazing.
So we're in a bit of a vampire resurgence right now. We had Abigail, what is it, last year, a few years ago. Sinners just came out. There's another movie called Bleeding that's about to come out on Screambox. What does Bogieville bring to the vampire world?
I just think it's different. Nobody's done hillbilly trailer trash vampires before. So I think that's different. And it's from Henry's. Henry's got an amazing. He's got another movie called Hobo, which is, I won't tell you, we're going to hopefully make it next year. He's just got this different take on stuff. I mean, I love vampire. I love it. I rewatched Interview with the Vampire the other day, and it's wonderful. It's great. It's very glamorous, and I think Tom, and I've worked with Tom. Tom's actually a really lovely chap. And I loved his stat. I think it was brilliant. Um, but it's Vogueville just sits there. It's just it's a bit like The Hills Have Eyes, or it's kind of got that kind of vibe, a vibe that well, I'd love you to. I don't know if you've seen our other vampire movie, Drained. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Right, this is crazy. It's a romantic love story. I'll send you a link. It came out. It's already out, but I'd love you to have a look at it. And our leading lady actually was brought up in the foothills of the Carpathian Mountains in Transylvania,
Oh my goodness.
and she's just absolutely. I'll send you after we finish. I'll send you a link. I'll
Please
send you the trailer.
do.
She's great. So that and that's but it's again, that film's about dependency and addiction, and he falls in love with this girl. He doesn't realize she's a vampire until it's too late. The vampire thing, it keeps coming back. I mean, I used to be a real goth. I was in a gothic metal band called the Marionettes, and we did quite well. We did quite well in America. If you Google us, you'll see who we were. So I've always been a little bit of a goth anyway. I just love that kind of, the style of it. And but I just think Bogieville, it's different. No, the closest one I can think about is Near Dark. Not, and they were kind of a little bit hillbilly-ish and kind of so I can't, that was one of my influences, although it's not, it's Henry's screenplay. So, but there are some shots where you see the vampires all together, where we're coming up the brow, where you've kind of got that vibe and moonlight's behind them. But I think it sits there. I hope it does well. I hope it does well for Henry, because he's written 100 screenplays, 100 features, and this is the first one that's ever been made.
That's crazy.
And he's 78 years old, and I'm like, so I just wanted him to benefit somehow from seeing, he loves the film. He still moans about, he goes, oh yeah, well, that was a bit wrong. And he complains about I mean, there was a petrol station that wasn't in America. And he said, well, the prices are wrong. I said, I don't think anyone's going to notice that. I don't know if you did. But, he's an older guy and the devil is in the detail. And because he wanted me to shoot it in America, but I didn't, we had 200 grand. I said, I can't do it in America. I haven't got the money. I can't do it. So yeah, but I want it to do well. I really hope it does well. If it does do well, then I will definitely make another one because yeah, it's a great franchise. The characters are great. I love children, child evil children. I mean, obviously, I can't remember the name. Was it the girl in the X? I can't remember her character name.
Reagan.
Reagan, that's right. Yeah. I mean, she was scary. I mean, children in horror are scary. Abigail, it's just a great thing. Our lovely girl Poppy, who played Lily, she was just so. She was about 12 or something at the time, and we had to get all these special licenses for children, not only
Right.
children working, but children working in horror, and eating people and stuff. And we had to have a chaperone to make sure that she wasn't in any time distressed on set, but she wasn't. She loved it. She just loved dressing up as a vampire and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I just hope it does well for Henry. And it's launching a few actors as well. Like Poppy wants to be an actor. She's now 13. We've got the world. We had a Fright Fest premiere last year because it got selected for Fright Fest, and it sold out in 24 hours. And so we did another one. It sold out twice. Uh,
Awesome.
but we've got the full-blown release premiere in the UK on the 12th, and then it comes out on the 13th. We were going to try and do one in Los Angeles as well, but again, we just haven't got time. But yeah, so I hope it sits there in the trailer park vibe of vampires, and I hope it does well for all concerned because it was very hard to make.
Well, I think you did a great job. You and the
Thank
whole cast and everyone who worked on it. I think it was a great movie, fantastic. I don't normally watch a lot of vampire movies, but this one I did enjoy quite a bit. So we have some fun questions here. So it is noted that Madison is a fan of Humphrey Bogart. Could we say the
you.
same for you?
Yeah, of course I love Humphrey Bogart. And the weird thing is about the name Bogieville. The distributors, everyone's got to change the name. You've got to change the name. And I said to Henry, I said, they want to change. He said, you can't. And I love the name Bogieville. I think it's
Yeah,
got to go with
it's
it.
very fitting. I don't know why, but it's very fitting.
And what it is, now in the UK, a bogey is a groover. It's a thing in your
Yeah.
nose, right? The in America, you've got the bogeyman or the boogeyman or the bogeyman. So, and they really, and I had to fight because they wanted to call it Sundown Park and all these different names. And I said, no, it's called because Madison's a Humphrey Bogart fan. And I love all that. I love the old classic Hollywood cinema as well. So I mean, the distributors were going to drop the film. They said, no, no, unless you change the name, we're not doing it. I said, well, goodbye. And then I found somebody that gets it. So we are a wonderful distributor. Level 33 are doing a really lovely job. They're so on the case. And the guy who runs it, Andreas, is distribution is very difficult. It's finding, and there's a lot of great guys out there. But there's also a lot of people that just take the film, stick it on the platform, take half of the money.
Yeah.
You never see a penny. And I've got a duty of care to my investors to make his money back. He's given me the money to make this movie. It's my pledge. And we found these guys, they're totally honest, transparent. They gave us a little upfront money. They're spending money on promotion. They're really, really great people. So it was kind of good that I stuck with the Bogieville because I found somebody. He goes, I love Bogieville. He loves it. So yeah, so Bogieville, even God knows none of this place.
I'm glad that you did not change the name to Sundown Park because I think that would have not gone over as well in the US. We do have a thing called sundown towns here. And if you are you familiar with sundown
Oh,
towns?
I don't know what's that.
Well, they are certain places throughout the US where they're called that because if a black person were to go be there after the sun went down, it would not turn out good
Oh,
for them. So I
really?
think
Oh
I
my
think changing the
God.
name would have been
Wow. I see.
given
I
it a
never knew that.
totally different, yeah.
I never knew that. I mean, golly, my gosh, how crazy. Well, I'm glad we didn't change it. And
Yeah.
they were gonna, because they offered us a big MG minimum guarantee, like a couple of hundred K. It would have paid the budget back in one go. These guys, they said you cannot call it Bogieville. You've got to call it Sundown Park. So I just said, and I didn't know what you just told me, but I just said no because I love the name Bogieville. I just think
Yeah.
it fits it, you know. Well, thank God we didn't do that. Thank you, and I thank
Right.
you.
Now being that that's not really an issue in Bogieville anyway, but there may have been some confusion if it were named Sundown Park. So I'm glad
Wow.
that it
Wow, I never
wasn't
knew
called that.
that. Wow, that's crazy. Gosh.
So, another fun question. If you were stuck as a human, if you were stuck in Bogieville after, during the night, what is your survival strategy? What are you going to do? Or are you just going to accept your fate and lay down and die?
Well, is it so one of the things that's romantic about probably not these vampires, because the great thing about it, you never die, you never grow old, you stay the
Right?
same. Which is might sound really, really glamorous, but these guys don't want to be alive. They're horrible. They're not attractive. They're all gnarly and they
Hmm.
smell and they're kind of condemned to this eternal forever. So it's a weird thing. So the side of me that doesn't want to die might go, well, fuck it, I'll be a vampire. But I think Jodie says in it, she goes, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be look like I've been dragged behind a truck for eternity. And then unfortunately that's what happens. But yeah, so I don't know. I think I'd probably try and get the hell out of here. I mean, I've written another vampire movie called Dark Heart, which is it's crazy. This vampire, he's like Nosferatu. He lives on top of a castle, but he can fly at the speed of an aeroplane. And when he lands through time back in, maybe in New Orleans, maybe New York. But every time he lands, he'll morph into when he comes to UK, he morphs into like a James Bond type character. And not only does he drink all the blood of the most high profile virgins, but he also steals the money from their parents so that he can support his eternal lifestyle because he's got to live forever. That's a new one that I'm working on now. But yeah, so I'd probably, in this case, if it was Interview with a Vampire, I go bite me.
Right?
But if it was Bogieville, I'd run like hell.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all you can do. And
Yeah.
I too, I don't think I would want to be alive forever just because that I feel like that I get bored a little bit and then not being able to see the sun, but also you've got to have this constant hunger too, and I'm sure that's annoying. I wouldn't like that.
It must be very, very annoying. I mean, it's funny because when I was a goth, I used to pretend I used to think I was a vampire. I mean, I was in my 20s and I used to crazy makeup. I mean, I'll show you, there's a thing on the BBC about me. I used to be called the Screaming Master, right? And everyone thought I could hypnotize people. It was all crazy nonsense. But I'll show you this. I'll show you this clip about the BBC, and it's quite funny, it's quite quirky. But yeah, no, I'd probably rather not. I mean, who wants to live forever? I don't
Right.
know. But then people are also scared of dying. Who wants to die? It's a weird one. So it's that fantasy of not having to die. You could have that potential eternity. So I don't know. Maybe I will be. I don't know.
So another thing is that as the garage owner, after he dies, the police come to investigate, right? And they note that there is not one drop of blood anywhere. But the thing is, all of the vampires in Bogieville are just covered in it constantly. So how are they just really good at, do they, after they kill someone, do they go around and like lick the floor? Do they get every single bit?
Basically, that's what they do. That's what they do. Because they're
Ew.
not they're not glamorous vampire. They're not it's just the blood stuff. They just want the blood. That's why it's all over their dungarees. They literally. I mean, I should maybe have shown a bit more of that, but Yeah, they're basically, there is no blood. They drink every drop. They don't waste not, want not.
So, Sean, what scares you, if anything?
So, uh, I've, do I believe in the supernatural? Do I believe in that kind of stuff? So, when my grandmother was a witch, right? She used to go to all these spiritual things and she used to do tarot cards and all this stuff. Now, and her house always smelled. She had this pot pourri, and her house always smelt of roses, always. But anyway, she lived at number 25 Madeley Road, this amazing house. When she died, she left me these two vases, right? The vases, I had them cleaned, they were empty, right? They were empty. I went looking and I was moving house and I had all my stuff in the, I had a big old black Jeep at the time. And I had these two vases in the back of my car, completely clean. I put them through the washing machine, they were clean. And I was looking for somewhere to live. And I went to all these different houses and I found this place. It was at 25 Montpelier Road, right? 25 Montpelier Road, 25 Madeley Road. I thought, oh, maybe this would be cool. I live at the same number as I lived when my grandmother lived. I moved there. I went to open the car. I opened it up. The vase had fallen over, right? And there was liquid all over the back of the car that smelt of roses,
Oh, she's
right?
there.
She was there, and those were clean. They were dry. I cleaned and dried them myself, and there was red liquid that smelt of roses. I said, "We're moving here." My grandmother.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. So it's strange, is there life after death? Who knows? There's so much evidence. I don't believe that. I don't know, but I'm not scared of it. I mean, I love horror. I've played so many. I mean, I've just played a villain. It's a film called Escape. I play an Albanian sex trafficker. I am the most horrible person you've ever met. I mean, I die in the most incredible way. It involves a pair of shears and something very precious to a man. I will say
I
no
can
more.
only imagine.
But it's my most elaborate and horrible death to date. But yeah, so I mean, I'm not really scared of anything. I like, I don't really want to die, but I'm not scared of it. I'm not scared. I've had some terrible situations. I was once I was in my gothic metal band. I had a matte black car, blacked out windows, and we all drove into the forest to sleep. We said, well, let's, for a bit of fun, let's drive. We drove the car through the forest. Thought, let's pitch a tent, let's sleep in the park, in the forest, sorry. And then about 4 in the morning, we've got a fire going. We hear these twigs. 5 guys wearing dungarees with knives between their mouths
Oh
came
no.
out of the forest. It was like Deliverance, right? And I'm like, wow, and my bass player's in the car. I said, wake up, you're gonna die. And these guys were what they used to do is people used to make love in the forest. They'd go in their cars and they'd hide away. And these guys, for fun, would terrify them. But I think that was probably the scare. I really did thought for about 30 seconds that I was going to die, but we fronted them out. But what scares me is there is so many horrible people in the world and stupid people in the world and wars. I get scared of governments and what your particular president, the crazy things that he may or
Not
may
my
not do.
president. Not my
Yeah, well,
president.
exactly. I mean, what I hate is I love animals. I have cats and dogs, and animals are honest. They have honest, pure love. It's unconditional. So what frightens me is the stupidity of man. It's the only thing that
Yeah.
really scares me, and how much damage they can do to the planet, to each other, to nature. That's really scares me. It's stupidity. It's terrifying, and there's so much of it around. But there are, of course, lots of wonderful people and great
Yeah.
people around. The horror people are always, although they make crazy, horrible films, they're a really tight knit community, lovely people. My friend Sean Decker, who's been helping me with the publicity,
Yes.
is just a dude. I spent the whole of the Halloween month staying with Sean and his lovely wife Sarah. Sarah's a wonderful actress as well. She's brilliant. She's just on the Popeye, and she's Popeye the Slayer Man, and
Yes,
she's
I interviewed her for Popeye. I love
yeah,
Sarah,
she
love
is
Sean.
just
They're
a
great.
super darling, and Sean knows the horror space like nobody else. He's just helped us, get interviews with you, and he just knows everybody in Hollywood who's in horror. He knows all the Terrifier guys really well, and he's such a goth man. And we both drive. I mean, I drive a black Jaguar, and my number plate is D121LLN. It reads villain. Uh, and so any color you like, as long as it's black. I always wear black. And Sean and I are old school goths. We both drink too much red wine. We smoke too much, and we talk all night. And so, yeah, it's wonderful. The horror genre is a really tight knit community, really, and that's why it does quite well, because like when I was in my gothic band, we were never going to be Justin Bieber. We were never going to be number
Yeah.
one, but we had a really loyal following. And for 20 years, I made my living out of singing on stage to people dressed in black. And it was, so it was, they're a lovely, the horror community are just wonderful. I just love them.
So we are at the end of the interview. If you want to say any last things about Bogieville, now is the time to say it.
Just guys, please enjoy it. Please, obviously, don't take it too seriously. Please understand that it's an independent film. So when you write your reviews about, that wasn't right, that wasn't right, just bear with us. We're making this on a very small budget, but the passion that went into it, and all the people that made it, and Phil, who along with me financed it. Thank you to him. I want to thank everybody. Thank Sean Decker for being a wonderful publicist. Thank all my cast and crew for putting up with being shouted at by a horrible, dirty hillbilly vampire. For everybody, it's the price of a cup of coffee. You get $4 or $5. You download a movie. It means we might be able to make another one, because if you need a lot of downloads to get even a couple of 100,000 back, so you can keep making independent films. So thank you so much, Celia, for the interview. Thank you to all the horror fans for helping keep independent horror and independent film alive. Thank you so much.